Whether you're ordering wings for the game, whipping up a 7-layer dip, or ordering pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food. No matter what you're craving, from 2-for-1 pizza to buy one, get one wings, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week, all season long. Uber Eats, official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
Are negative Google reviews hurting your business? Don't let unfair feedback cost you customers. At Webamax, we specialize in removing false, misleading, and damaging reviews so your online reputation stays strong. Our expert team works quickly and legally to clean up your digital presence, helping you rebuild trust. Visit us on the web at www.gowebamax.com. That's GOWEBIMAX.com, or text us for a free quote at 856-840-8343. Don't let bad reviews define you. Get immediate help from Webamax.
At T-Mobile, our critical mission is providing unparalleled 5G coverage for when connectivity is mission critical. Introducing T-Priority, America's best 5G network experience for first responders, even in times of congestion. More capacity, faster speeds, better coverage. T-Priority from T-Mobile, built for tomorrow's emergencies, ready today. Discover more at t-priority.com.
For qualifying organizations on eligible rate plans, coverage not available in some areas and may be impacted by emergencies.
This episode is brought to you by the Nissan Armada Pro 4X. With a twin-turbo V6 engine ready to propel your adventures, up to 8,500 pounds of towing capacity to haul all your favorite toys, and space for 8 passengers, Nissan's most powerful car yet will chew up and spit out anything you throw at it. Learn more about the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada at nissanusa.com. Towing capacity varies by configuration. See Nissan Towing Guide and Owner's Manual for additional information. Always secure cargo.
Empower. Claire is practicing her breathing for her upcoming yoga retreat in Bali. Has she ever done yoga before? No. But Claire worked with Empower on her savings and investment strategy. She got good at money, so she can be a little bad. Empower. Invest well, live a little. Join our 19 million customers today at empower.com.
Past performance is not indicative of future returns. Investing involves risks. You may lose money. Advisory services are provided for a fee by Empower Advisor Group, LLC, EAG, a registered investment advisor with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Om Namaste.
Hey there, Duke fans. Welcome to DBR Bites. I don't remember the number. Donald, what's the number? Do you remember what number we're on?
97.
97? Okay,
I'm
great.
the mathematician on this show. 97 is one after 96.
Thank you. I'd forgotten what number we were on. Something like the 800th total episode of Duke Basketball Roundups. But this one is a DBR Bites. This is going to get you through the weekend, folks, until after the next Duke game. We have a very special episode where we're going to be talking about a production that's going to be on the ACC Network done by Raycom. It is called We're Number One, the story of the 1991 and 92 Duke Blue Devils. It debuts Saturday evening at 9 p.m. right after the Duke game. It's going to be playing dozens of more times. My bet is it'll be streaming and all that other kind of stuff. But in any event, we have the producer of that program joining us now, Ed Mabe. Ed, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. Thank you so much for talking to all the famous Blue Devils that you spoke to make this special program.
Well, I appreciate it. It's great to be here, guys.
So I want to ask you, first of all, you know what? Talk about who you got for this and the process of reeling them in and getting everybody to participate in this look back at, at 2 really magical years for Blue Devil fans.
Well, let's see. I guess the first guy that we got I thought was pretty interesting was Bobby. Bobby was the first interview that we got, and Bobby was, he's head coach at Arizona State now, and he, the bad thing about our interview with him was, and it was a great interview, don't get me wrong, but he had just coming off a really big loss to Arizona by literally like 40 points. And the whole time he was saying, guys, I'm sorry, I'm so distracted. And he was just really antsy about, getting out of the interview room. But he ended up giving us over an hour of his time, like right in the middle of the season. And he was just phenomenal, as most all these guys are. I think the biggest challenge, a lot of these shows that we've done in the past, we've done 3 other shows. A lot of the guys tend to stay around the college that they're famous for being, around and having made their name there. But all these Duke guys, they're all over the country, all across the country, all over the place. Arizona, we went up to Baltimore, Washington area to get Brian. Christian was in Jacksonville, Florida. Coach K is obviously in Durham. Jimmy King, who we ended up getting, from Michigan, Fab Five, he's in Dallas, Texas. So we really had some challenges as far as travel and getting all these guys together. And at first I had an idea that I wanted to bring them all together in kind of a, reunion type thing, but I soon figured out that's not going to happen with these guys. There's just too much going on. They're too busy. But everybody, like I say, I think everybody sat down and gave us at least an hour of their time. It was a really incredible experience.
Even Duke fans, there's a lot of guys in this program that we see all the time, right? From Jay Billis, Christian Laettner, Bobby Hurley, Grant Hill. You also had Antonio Lang and Brian Davis, who are two guys who, again, even Duke fans don't get to hear from a lot. What did you learn from speaking from those two guys in particular about their personalities and their importance to these teams?
Well, I'll start with Brian, since he was one of the leaders of the team, and as he said in the show, that he and Christian ran the team like a pair of CEOs. They were really boss out there. I mean, they were tough guys, and they were tough leadership. And Mike Bray talked about how that was really key to the success of that team. Tough leadership from Christian and Brian. As far as Antonio, he's an assistant coach with the Atlanta Hawks now, and he's just the sweetest guy you could meet, man. And I got a little story about him. Was when we went to do the interview with him, his father had just passed away like 2 days before, and he was still kind of just grief stricken. And there were a couple of times in the interview that were kind of left on the cutting room floor where he got kind of emotional. You could tell he was just sort of at an emotional stage in his life. But he came across as a really sweet guy and a really supportive person, which I think that his role was for that team. He was coming off the bench a lot of times. So those two guys were essential to the team. Thomas Hill, I won't say refused, but he declined to participate in the show. And it's unfortunate because if you remember that team and it's gone through the footage like I have, Thomas was an incredible player. I mean, he was, I wish he had been part of the show. I really do.
Well,
but he's in there in essence,
I was gonna say, and he of course has the famous reaction to the shot where
I know the old Home Alone shot, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned Antonio Lang and the fact that some of the things that were happening in these guys' lives.
Yeah.
When they were filming this, right? Bobby Hurley coming off of a huge loss, which was in the media for other reasons, right? That the Arizona State games were very chippy, for lack of a better word. But even Antonio Lang losing his father a couple of days before, you don't feel that, right? You don't feel, and it's credit to them, right, that they're able to kind of silo that for an hour to
that's
talk
definitely behind the scenes.
It doesn't feel that.
Yeah, it's definitely behind the scenes stuff. Having been there and looking at the interview itself, you'd never know. Like I say, he got emotional a couple of times, just being nostalgic, I think, about that stage in his life. So it was I can't wait to hear what he thinks of it too, because he acted like he wasn't going to be in it very much, and he's in it, plenty. Not as much as the big three.
And Donald and I have both gotten a chance to look at the thing. It's fabulous.
Oh, okay, right.
It's very, very. It especially for me, because I was around during that era.
Yeah.
It's very much back down old memory lane. But I want to give our audience a sense of the kind of access you had, the kind of behind the scenes insight that we get from this program. We've got a snippet we're going to play. It's from where you're highlighting, the very famous ending of the Duke Kentucky game in 1992. I want folks have a listen. You're going to hear Coach K. You're going to hear assistant coach Mike Bray, Christian Laettner, and Grant Hill talk about what was happening in the huddle in the moments before Grant's famous pass to Christian to win that game, one of the greatest plays in college basketball history. Have a listen right now.
Mike K is saying to them, we're going to win this.
I'm not sure that I thought we were going to win, but I knew that's what I was supposed to say. Another masterful job by Coach K, pulling us in the huddle and saying, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're running the home run play.
The play was run one time before. It was run at Wake Forest, and Grant threw a curveball.
Grant Hill, long down to Laettner. Right stepped out of bounds.
Sometimes, instead of just telling a player to do something, you ask them if they can do it. And I asked Grant, can you throw the ball 75 feet?
And I said, yes. I took ownership.
I asked Christian, can you catch the ball?
Yes, go ahead, go out there and do it.
Ed, I bet you could have made an entire documentary out of that one game, couldn't you?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's been books written about that one game. It's called The Greatest Game Ever Played, and it really was an incredible. I mean, to me, it's my favorite. The segment 4 is my favorite part. The 1992 season leading up to that game, and I mean, Coach K did such an amazing job in that huddle. And as he said, I told him we're going to win this game, but I wasn't sure we were really going to win this game. But I knew it's what I had to say. So, I mean, that was probably, like I say, the most famous play one of the most famous plays in the history of college basketball. And it was just an honor to have an opportunity to talk to those guys about, like I say, the most amazing play in college basketball history.
The 91-92 teams are they're well known to this day, right? I'm not as old. I wasn't in college when Jason was in college. I was a few years behind him, but that, funny enough, I was on the other side of that. I was I grew up a Michigan fan during those years and grew to love this team by coming to Duke and being a part of the history. But those teams are still well known, right? Christian Laettner, Grant Hill, those guys are still around. Bobby Hurley is still coaching. Obviously, a lot has been done about those teams. What stories did you learn in doing this documentary that either you didn't know or you feel fans may not have known before? Because, like I said, the past has always been talked about, but there's probably some intricacies with those teams that are a little bit lesser known that you want to bring out to the forefront.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I mean, for me, it's the infamous 1 a.m. practice. Duke had just played a road game in Virginia, and they got blown out. Bryant still tells some good stories about it. And they were 4 hours. They had a 4-hour ride home on the bus, and it was dead silence the whole time. And they were incredibly worried about what Coach K was gonna say once they got back to campus. Well, he said something all right. He said, "Suit up, tape up. We're having a 1 a.m. practice." And during that practice, it was Antonio Lang, everyone described it as the most intense practice of their lives. Grant Hill says the hardest practice in my entire life. And at one point, Antonio Lang and it was guarding Grant, and Grant went up for a dunk, and Antonio Lang hit him in the face and broke his nose, and blood splattering all over the floor. And as Grant Hill said, they decided to mop up the blood and keep practicing. And that's exactly what they did. And the funniest thing about that was when I was interviewing Coach K, I asked him, I said, "Coach K, do you remember, that practice, that 1 a.m. practice?" And at first he was like, I don't know really what you're talking about. I was like, "Really? You don't remember the practice where your star, the greatest player in the history of your coaching career, had his nose broken in practice, and you don't remember that?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, that practice." I was like, "How many 1 a.m. practices did you have, and how many players broke their noses?"
He's had a few. And the funny thing is that particular practice, right? I've known about that particular practice. I did not know that Grant Hill had his nose broken in that practice, so that was a new fact for me. But the whole we've had a lot of guys on the show that have had Coach K as a coach, and some of the tactics that he uses are now becoming more well known to Jason and I because we've gotten to experience them through this show. But now you see, I remember on campus when we'd lose a game, it was, we had a 5 a.m. practice, or we immediately practiced after the game, or we had to shoot 1,000 shots. Those sort of tactics to get it ready. But it all harkens back to this 1 a.m. practice that is so legendary.
Yeah, and that was pivotal too, because they went on a really long winning streak right after that and didn't lose another game, I don't think, until the finals of the ACC tournament to Carolina that year. So it really kind of sparked that season, and you could say it really sparked that team in general. Those 2 years, it really lit a fire, and it was a masterful coaching job by Coach K, and he's kind of known for doing that.
Yeah, you heard it here first, folks. Coach K knows how to motivate players. Hey,
How many times has that been said on this show?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Couple.
Ed, we're going to take a quick commercial break. On the other side, I want to
Okay.
talk to you. One of my favorite things is the way Christian Laettner and Bobby Hurley's relationship inverted a bit. I'm going to ask you about that when we come back.
Pepsid Complete knows that food is one of the best parts of game day. That is, until heartburn strikes. Thankfully, just one chewable tablet of Pepsid Complete provides dual-action heartburn relief with an antacid that starts working instantly and an acid reducer that lasts all day. So you can stay focused on that second helping of chili without worrying about heartburn. All day based on 8-hour symptom relief studies during the day. Use product only as directed.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check the Jumbotron first, before attempting to eat a stack of Supreme nachos in one bite. Now you're just a meme that everyone shares on game day. Checking first is smart, so check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, we're back from the break. Jason and Donald with you here on the DBR podcast. We're with Ed Mabe of Raycom Sports and the ACC Network talking about the fabulous documentary that he's done about the 1991 and 1992 national championship teams. Ed, I teased this before the break. I love the juxtaposition, sort of from the very beginning to the very end of your documentary. At the very beginning, we get Christian Laettner talking about how Coach K gave Bobby Hurley the ball as a freshman, and Christian was like, "What?" And Christian was all over Bobby Hurley. And then at the very end, when they're in the Final Four in 1992, and Christian Laettner, frankly, isn't playing his best basketball, and Bobby Hurley gets all over him. Talk to me a little bit about, I mean, those champs brought out the best in each other, didn't they?
They sure did. I mean, I think the best quote about that was from Seth Davis, and he talked about how friction really is important, to have an integral part of a championship team. And those two guys really went at it all the time. And there's a lot of other stories that I could have used. I had a lot of outtakes for the Christian Laettner, Bobby Hurley relationship that I didn't use.
Wait. I want to jump in. Hold on. You're allowed to use them now.
You said the magic word.
I want to keep that on the floor. I want to keep that on the cutting room floor for now. But their relationship was mercurial. I mean, as Coach Bray said, and I think again he had a really great quote about their relationship, saying that Coach K did a great job of heating the building with that energy, but not letting it burn it down. And I think that's really sort of the thing that epitomized their relationship. And you even see it now. You see it when just talking to Christian about Bobby and Bobby talking about Christian. You see there's still this bond between them that's still very emotional, because you know how you are at that young age like that. You're still developing as a person and relationships and things like that. And it was a real thrill to hear those guys talk about one another.
For something like this, you have 2 years to cover of a dynastic team, and you only have an hour to kind of put it into perspective.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking about some of the things that were left in the editing room floor, what went into those decisions? Because at least from watching it, it felt like the buildup was more of the 91 team, and with good reason, because it starts everything. And then 92 was kind of like, hey, this team was really, really good. Oh yeah, there was a shot, right? And by comparison to the kind of the brick by brick foundation that you built in discussing the 91 team. So what went into those decisions and how to craft this story and make it digestible in an hour?
Well, I did. I shot it. There was 2 interviews that I shot. I shot an interview with Billy King that ended up on the cutting room floor, and I shot another one with a Raycom sports reporter from back in that era named Brenda Hughes that I also had to cut out. And it was about family. And I really regret not being able to leave that part in because it's really essential to the closeness and the bonds that those people had, and how important Coach K was as a father figure to them, and how important he was to their development as people. And I really regret leaving that part on the floor, the family part, because I think it connected the dots in a deeper level. And I wish I could have had a little more time to, literally like 2 minutes is all I needed. But it really gets down to the nitty gritty here when you start going through 40 games a season for 2 years, plus all the dramatic postseason stuff that you have to cover. Yeah, I mean, it was, like I say, it was unfortunate that I didn't get the family part in there, because I think that's a big part of Coach K and his reputation and what he believes in.
It very quickly, like, what in shaping this, was it something where Raycom said, "You have an hour, go for it," or was it okay? So you had the time limit and you had to fit everything into the time limit.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's a long TV hour. It's 52-minute show. A lot of times you'll have 44-minute, hour TV
With
hour. So we
with
had that
commercials,
extra time too. But I feel like there was some stuff I would have liked to gotten deeper into the UNLV game a little more. I felt like that to me was the pivotal game in the history of Duke basketball, because all of this doesn't happen without them beating UNLV in that game. Nothing happens. What happens is UNLV wins back-to-back titles, and Duke goes home again empty-handed, for what, 5 of the last 6 years or something. They made the Final Four and didn't, finish the deal. So, that UNLV game would have been nice to get a little deeper cut into it, I think, because it's so pivotal, and I feel like it's the game that really, epitomized what that team went through. And I think people need to realize that UNLV team was amazing. And you get a little sense of it in the very beginning when they're, a little montage of the blowout, but they were such an incredible team, incredible basketball team. And again, Coach K with his masterful job of keep it close and we'll beat them in a close game, because they're not used to being in close games. And that proved prophetic.
Ed, is there an overall takeaway? What are you hoping that viewers will get from watching this program? I mean, is it an understanding of the players and the personalities? Is it motivate? What are you hoping that people are going to come away other than enjoying a couple back-to-back titles? Right.
Well, I think we've done. This is the 4th one that we've done in this series of We're Number One. In the first 3 that we did about college football. And, it's a different thing. The one thing I learned about this was that, a team being so small, only 12 guys on a team, these guys were really close to one another. You really get to know one another on a college basketball team because, again, there's only 12 guys as opposed to 60 or 70 on a football team. And the coaches working with you constantly, day to day in the gym. Whereas in football, you've got specialty coaches that you're usually working with. So I feel like that these guys really know each other, and there's a certain long-term closeness that's forged having gone through something like that and what they went through in that time period. Anything else?
I'll tell you, by the way, we've spoken to Donald and I have been very fortunate to talk to, well over a dozen Duke players over the years. And you get that from them. They talk about, I went to war with these guys and I will always be close to them. I interviewed Danny Ferry just a few days ago, and that's one of the things that stuck with me about talking to him was how much he said, we're family for life.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and the incredible, speaking of Danny Ferry, there's a great story that Christian tells that I didn't put in the show. Was he talked about the first day he came to campus as a freshman, and he was just in the coach's office, and Danny Ferry just happened to be in there, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on, man?" And he's like, "Hey, nice to meet you, Danny." And Danny's like, "Let's go play one-on-one." And the first thing they did was he took him in the gym. Danny Ferry, the senior, Christian the freshman, and they played one-on-one against each other.
Wow.
And Christian and Danny hit him with an elbow in the mouth and about knocked his tooth out, he said, just to kind of get him up to the level of competitiveness that this Duke basketball team was going to throw at him in the next 4 years. So and another thing I'd like to reiterate about the team too is I don't think people realize how tough that Duke team was physically. They were really a tough team. I mean, I know they've got this reputation as being Duke, Ivy League of the South kind of guys, but those guys were tough guys. I mean, they were hard asses. And like I say, back to Brian, he was the guy who sort of would be confrontational all the time, in your face, along with Christian. But I feel like Brian really was kind of the muscle, and maybe Christian was the brains when it came to that co-CEO mentality that they had.
That those teams are almost like the benchmark for physicality and tenacity that the Duke program has kind of used as its foundation for so long. So I definitely agree with you. Whenever you think of those teams, you think of how tough they were against all odds. Even again, and I got to see it from the other side growing up. It was tough to deal with them on a regular basis. But as we wrap this up, obviously we're excited about this, and I know the fans are going to be excited to watch this starting tomorrow night. But what other projects do you have coming up for the ACC Network? We love the ACC outside of a couple teams. You probably can guess which ones. But is there anything else coming up that we should be ready for?
Well, we're doing the 5th installment of We're Number One, and you'll be glad to hear that we're doing the 1993 UNC Tar Heel National Championship team.
Oh.
That was one of those
That's
teams
going to get edited out, right?
That was one of those teams I said, well, you got a couple. That was one.
No, actually,
that's one of the couple.
The 93 team famously won by Chris Webber not calling timeout when he didn't have one.
Yeah,
Jason, we just talked about how I was on that side. I don't need to relive that part of my life. I don't.
Yeah, Ed, you should interview Donald for the Michigan perspective on.
Yeah, I was hoping to get Rob Pelinka for this one. Yeah, it'd be great.
Oh, that'd be good.
He was a big part of that Michigan team in that era.
Mm-hmm. Well, Ed, as a lifelong fan of ACC basketball in general, I'll hold my nose and I'll watch that one when that comes out as well. That is
you guys will have me on again, I'm sure, right?
Yeah. Right. I don't know about
different questions for that one. Different questions.
Ed Mabe with Raycom Sports, the ACC Network. We thank you so much. We thank you both for talking to us and for putting this together. Folks, check your local listings. It is going to be on dozens of times over the next several weeks. We're Number One, a look at the 1991 and 92 Duke Blue Devils. Ed, we really appreciate you. Thanks, man.
Hey, I really enjoyed talking about the show. Anything to promote Duke basketball.
Oh, there you go. That's the right answer.
More Duke features. We love it.
More Duke features. Yeah, they get good ratings.
Well, they've got a bunch of other teams that won championships. 3 other teams that we've yet to cover. So fingers crossed.
Just don't do the 2001 team. I did a special on them that I still haven't finished. I did hours of interview with every single guy, even the walk-ons, every single guy in that team. And I did 8 episodes of chronicling their season, and I've got 2 or 3 more to go. And I've been sitting on them for like 3 years. I'm the worst.
I know who I'm coming to when we do that documentary. It's going to be you, Jason.
There you go, man. Thanks a lot. That's going to do it here, folks, on the latest edition of the DBR podcast. We'll be back after the Blue Devils game against Florida State. Make sure you tune in after that game to watch the special on the 91-92 teams. Until then, he's Donald. I'm Jason. Here's the Duke band playing us out and taking us home.